All right, so listen, Cindy, I appreciate you being on SkillSharp, the podcast. I've been trying to get you on for a while, ever since your Forbes Entrepreneur of Impact campaign, where you were in the top five nationally, which is amazing. But anyway, so tell me a little bit about yourself. Give our audience a sense of who you are.
So, well, I really believe in making an impact. If I really have to start with that is, we live in a society where there is a lot of interest in personal gain. There's nothing wrong with that, but I truly believe living a purpose-driven life where you're creating a legacy, you're making impacts because that's what's going to be remembered, for life. And it's really something that I aspire to do is, with my desire in becoming a serial entrepreneur, is really to create impact in communities, to solve as many problems as I can, with a smile.
My father used to use a line that said he always wanted to leave a legacy of excellence. So obviously, memories, your legacy can be many different things. But to your point, you want to do something that will impact others. And obviously your legacy then lives through them, right, as they continue to grow. What what inspired you and maybe who were the role models around you that got you to think that way?
Honestly, I would say my father and my mom, they were ambitious, hardworking, tenacious, and they were extremely, extremely kind.
I love that. The fact that you noticed the kindness. Now, was that something that you noticed when you were going through it? Because sometimes, young people appreciate their parents much later. So did you know it when you were going through it, or did you realize it as an adult?
I would say probably a little bit of both, but of course, I'd realize it and notice it more as an adult because you have experiences, you're more matured, but I did also feel it as a kid.
How did that exposure to obviously professionals and people that had, purpose-driven life, how did that impact you as you started to think about your career journey?
I felt honestly fulfillment. When you have a career, something that you really love, but you're also making an impact. I mean, the experience is just there's no words that can describe it, right? The fulfillment that you gain is more than any money can buy. They say if you are doing something you're passionate about, you never work a day in your life. But I also believe if you're doing something you're passionate about, and you are making changes and you're creating impact that improves or enhances the lifestyle or the global community, I mean, that's like everything. That's like everything, literally. I can't imagine anyone who lives that way to have a life that's not wholesome. It's just not feasible.
Okay, so it's not challenge you on something, but so your career started, since I've known you for a long time, just as we were getting into the digital economy. I mean, like literally transforming from traditional media into digital. How did you choose research, and how did you know that that would be the fulfillment or provide you the fulfillment that you're talking about?
So honestly, when I started my career, I didn't really have a prescribed desire, like, oh, I really want to do this. At the very beginning, because I knew that I wanted to make impact, I just wanted to learn as many skill sets as possible. And one of those skill sets that I discovered earlier on that I really had uh not just an interest, but I really was good at was research. But I would say that the ability to research has opened up so many doors. I've been able to go into so many directions, but I would also add communication, being able to understand the nuances in both spoken and non-spoken word, um, and just really being able to understand the professional landscape, the inner workings of the global community, businesses. Again, like I was honestly in observant mode because again, like I said, I wanted to make an impact and to really understand where I could make that impact, how I could make that impact. It really just required me to just learn. So the very early on in my career, I was just focused on learning. I learned and was open to learning and grasping as many pieces of knowledge, nuggets of information as I could. And I would honestly say that those knowledge and those learnings really paved the way for where I've come today.
No, that's great. I I I think a lot of people find it hard to find the balance between professional growth and personal fulfillment. Not even talking about like impact as well. I think that's a third prong that, it's like the trifecta that people would love. But in a sense that you were inside of a larger business or corporation and you were finding these different aspects that fulfilled you, and you also experienced growth. So you were able to, go to higher levels. What were some of the limitations that you started to experience or observe that made you think being an entrepreneur was the next phase of that fulfillment journey that you were looking for?
So I would say one
Oh,
of the
you
things,
like that question, huh? Okay. No, I'll just mess with you.
one of the things that I was taught growing up is whatever scope of work you were given, put your best foot forward. And in doing so, you can grow to become a master in the initiatives that you're working on. So don't just put half of your mind in something because you don't really think it's aligned to what you're going to do. Sometimes what you find in life is the things that you don't like actually are the foundation for where you actually need to go. And so being open to learning everything about that one thing you don't like actually can be the gift that keeps on giving. And so I think having been brought up in that way and taking every task and attempting to build as much advanced knowledge and even in some cases mastery, I think when you operate at that level and you keep on going up, I think you get to the point where sometimes it can also become limiting because you might sometimes find yourself in a minority where not everyone operates that way or seeks to operate that way. So it becomes a limitation, right? You might find yourself doing things with more speed than, maybe your counterpart. And it's not like a bad thing. It's just if you find yourself in a mist where there's limitations on how far people are willing to commit to things that you are open to doing, sometimes you may have to consider creating, an entrepreneurial experience because that's really where, from that standpoint, you can really realize your highest potential. It's the same concept of, they say, if you are the smartest person in the room, and by no means, I'm not saying I am, I like to remain my humble pie, but this is just an analogy that is often used. If you find yourself in a room where you're constantly given the feedback, you're constantly given the insights, then the room is too small. You need to elevate to a room where you have other people who've achieved greater than where you're at, so you can actually continue to grow. So it's really important that you don't allow yourself to remain in rooms that essentially stifle your growth and cap your potential.
No, that's a really good point. And I think um in the world of executive coaching and trying to talk people through the barriers that they face professionally, you know, the entrepreneurial journey oftentimes is measured by expertise and skill set. So people literally think, even though they may have been doing it for many, many, many years, hey, I'm not going to be getting a check every day or every week or every, 2 weeks or whatnot. So I don't have the expertise or skill to be an entrepreneur yet. I mean, literally, that's what people think. So I ask you though, is it more so confidence, courage, inner strength that helps power the leap into the entrepreneurial journey versus skill set and expertise?
I would absolutely say courage. Absolutely courage. You have to have enough courage to believe in your dreams, even if you're the only one standing. Because at the end of the day, if you believe in that dream and you work that dream, you will realize success. But for you to do it, just like if you're a leader, you might be given insight and your team may not see that. You're not just going to give up because you're the leader. The onus is on you to find a way to carry on your team along so they can see and buy into your vision. But you're not going to be able to achieve that if you don't have the courage to push through. So, absolutely, courage is almost like a requirement. And I wouldn't even say not just, it's beyond business. It could really be with any level of personal accomplishments, goals, dreams. Um, the individual persons or groups need courage. But then I would also add what can elevate and help that courage is your mindset. What's your current mindset? That's why there's a lot of insight on if your mindset is well positioned, you can achieve anything.
I was going to add to that, and I think the mindset is exactly right. It's faith too. It's knowing that if you do exhibit courage, you have faith that that effort is going to pay off in some way. It's going to advance you in some way. And it's funny, a lot of people find it hard to quantify what courage is, what faith is. It's things that you don't know, you can't necessarily see, but you just feel like you have to do it. And that's, in moments of fight or flight, that's what it is. Um, Not last question, but I just want to guide you another route. Like, so thinking about being an entrepreneur, you have used your technical skill set, and I'm not saying technology, I'm saying like your specific expertise and skills to pick a certain direction that you're in that has allowed you to more options and opportunities to pick new areas, right? To grow, things like that. The one thing that is underrated is relationships, though, and how that skill set or that expertise helps build trust and build relationships in you. So you're able to then leverage that and guide and lead more people, whether it be a client or a team. Talk to me about your growth and your curiosity in building relationships.
Relationships are everything. Really, relationships are golden. I say with every single person that you meet, treat them the way you want to be treated. I'm a person of faith, and I know, you know, in in the readings, it talks about being your neighbor's keeper. And I understand sometimes that may be difficult, but there are definitely times where there's an opportunity to do so. For example, you meet anyone, don't try to size them up based on their social economic status. Treat them like a person. If they need help and you're in a position to help. It's not going to cost you anything. Some relationships, depending on the way you build them, you nurture them, they can literally create opportunities for you that last beyond just you. It could spill into your family, your friends. It's generational. And so my parents exemplify that in every possible way that I can imagine, where the way they treated people, the way they dealt with people was just gracious that so gracious that we are still the kids recipients of that grace till today. And so my insight and relationship with everyone that you meet, treat them with humility, with kindness. And if there ever is an opportunity for you to support them, help them in a way that is feasible for you, do so. Don't be the person who creates negativity for the persons. Be a builder, be a connector. Leave people better than you met them. And the more you do that, they said there is actually more grace by giving. And it's true. The more you give, the more you receive than receiving. It's not to say that you won't accept anything, but if you really put your mindset to be someone who improves upon others and leaves them in a better situation than they before they met you, it will change your life for good.
Any closing thoughts or things that you would like to help inspire others on?
I would say whatever goals and dreams that you have, believe me, you can achieve them. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Most initiatives, all it takes is one person who has the tenacity, the courage, the willpower, the focus, the vision to drive it home. So always remember that regardless where you are, good or bad, you are always going to be in the driver's seat to your future. You always are in control. There is always things that you can do. Always. Don't ever think that the position you're in is the end. Sometimes you fall. So what? Get up again. Sometimes that falling is to teach something. And we live in a world where success is not created in perfection. It's a lot of success actually from trial and error. So regardless where you are in life, get up. Yes, sometimes it's difficult, it's painful, it's challenging, but if you have the courage, you will make it.
Great, great close. I appreciate that. Well, listen, you did a great job.
No, thank you.
Yeah,
Everything
see,
was from my head. I don't know.
I mean, but that's what we're talking about. And look, I mean, this is I we came up with some of this. I mean, I've always used it as a recruitment prep.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And obviously, this is much broader than that, but very rarely do people get a chance to talk about themselves positively. And it's usually not framed in the cadence of an interview. So they're going through interviews cold. And essentially, unless they get a high volume of interviews going, they're not getting the practice that they deserve. So, yeah, no, this is the process that, listen, you as a budding entrepreneur that's gonna, be in the 100 million range soon, like you gotta be comfortable sharing this. So no, you did a great job.